Hello, magical experimenters. Taylor Ellwood here, and welcome to the latest episode of this channel. If you're new here, go ahead and click the subscribe button and then click the bell notification so you get notified when I go live. And if you're a frequent flyer, please click the like button and comment. So today, I wanted to explore the topic of timing and magic a little bit further. In my previous video, I was sharing some thoughts because of some ongoing work that I'm doing right now. Um, Around working magic on specific days of the week. And the reason I'm doing that work is because I'm going through this a process of learning a bit about my learning about my magical partner's path and actually taking on that lineage as part of my work and spiritual work as well, thanks to the work we're doing together. And so, it's been an interesting project. But as I shared, last time, I thought, how arbitrary is some of this? How necessary is some of it? So, she and I ended up talking a little bit about it, and she made a couple really good points that I appreciated. One point was that in alchemy, in laboratory alchemy, not the days are of course important, but the planetary hours are really important in terms of the substances that you're making, because you're trying to capture the essence of um, the alchemical expression. And she actually pointed me to an app that she has on her that she has that's called planetary hours, or it's called hours, I think. But if you search for planetary hours, and it shows you the planetary hours. Let me show you the little icon here. It's this one right here. It's got a little star. There you go. And so it's pretty cool, because what it does is it'll show you like the hour. Like right now is the sun hour. So today's the sun hour on the Sunday, and it'll tell you the strength of the planetary energy, give you some key ideas, the plants and things like that. So highly recommend that. She recommended it to me, and I in turn would recommend it to you. I think it's done by this fellow. It's like $5.49 in Google Play if you buy it. I don't know what it is in Apple, but I'm assuming something similar. And you know what? Well worth supporting a fellow occultist, to my mind. So out of this conversation, I got thinking, what would it be like to start tracking and monitoring the hours of the day in terms of when I would do something, whether it was doing magical work or mundane things, or just paying attention to it. And part of this was a suggestion prompted by my magical partner, because she'd suggested this idea. And part of it was also thinking like, is there more to this than what I'm seeing? Am I being too quick to dismiss this? Now, I'll say first and foremost that working magic on the specific days of the week has been an interesting experience. I don't know that it has really necessarily significantly influenced my approach to magic one way or another. But it's been an interesting exercise. And if nothing else, it'll definitely go into the next space-time magic book as an example of how you can work with timing. So I think that's been useful. But what I've been doing during the week is I've been looking at this app that I showed you, and I've been looking at the hour, and then kind of like gauging how I'm feeling. That's been an interesting experience, because I'll look and I'll be like, okay, like right now is the sun hour, so here I am making this video. This is like perfect timing, right? In terms of capitalizing on that sun energy. And of course, I'm doing this on a Sunday, so it's kind of an interesting thing. So it's Sunday with the sun energy, boom boom right there. It's like it's extra powerful, right? And I'm capitalizing on that and drawing upon that. But then, like, if I go like to the next hour, am I going to feel differently on that hour? That's kind of an interesting question. So by looking at this app, I can kind of track it and see, okay, when is this planetary energy prevalent during the day and during the evening, and how does this impact me? Impact me on a physiological level, impact me on a mental level, impact me on a magical level. Now, I'm going to say, again, one thing here, a couple things. One, there is the skeptical part of me in the back of my mind that's like, okay, is the reason that I'm putting a significant amount of attribution to this because, now that I have this app, I'm tracking these hours. Is it because I'm reading more into it than is there? Now, this is always a good question to ask, okay? And this is not knocking anything. This is actually a very good question to ask because it allows you to really examine, like, well, what is the experience I'm having here? Am I having this experience because now I'm suddenly paying attention to these things? Would I be having this experience if I wasn't paying attention? You may not be able to answer that question, but they're good questions to ask. And what I found is that as I've been tracking, these hours during the week, and I'm going to continue doing this for the next few weeks because I think this is just a great exercise for me in terms of challenging what I know to discover what I can learn, as I always like to do. In regards to timing and planetary hours and things like that. And I'm going to add to it too. I'm One of the things I'm going to be doing is I'm going to start trying to do specific magical operations within reason on during the planetary hours. I'm not going to focus on the days of the week because during the days of the week I'm working, so I don't always have the option to do it. But during, like, on the weekends, I might try some stuff, or in the evenings, I might try some things and just see what happens and see if there's a significant influence one way or another. I haven't started that part of it. What I've started doing is, just as I said, tracking, like, how do I feel on a given hour? What does that feel like? And the reason I'm taking this approach, and it's a tiered approach, is because I like to, if I'm going to measure something, if I'm going to explore something, I first want to pay attention to the impact. How is this affecting me physiologically, for example? What am I noticing, differently one way or another? And is this playing a role in any way, shape, or form in my daily mundane experience? I think this is a good way to approach things with this kind of thing. Then I'll add in the magical tier, because by that point I'll have a baseline of experience that I can use to weigh against the magical experience, and then be able to be okay. And what I'm going to do too is I'm going to do, like, initially what I'm going to do is I'll do, like, Martian magic during the Mars hour, and I'll do mercurial magic during the Mercury hour, things like that. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it up, and I might do Mercury magic during the Mars hour just to see what happens. Is there a significant effect one way or another? Again, this is different from practical laboratory alchemy. I'm talking about doing magical operations and workings. Um, as my magical partner mentioned, with the alchemy, there are very specific reasons, because you're trying to capture the essence of a given hour. Which I think is a really interesting point. Again, not having really done laboratory alchemy at this point, I can't really speak to that on my own, but I trust her experiences. She knows what she's talking about. She's done the work, and I mean, I think that part of why I'm doing this experiment that I'm doing is because, in a very real sense, the conversation that we had challenged me in a really good way. Like, how can I explore and experiment with this concept, something I had never really done before, just to see what would happen. And this is kind of what I came up with as a result of the conversation, and just makes me really appreciative of the fact that, when you work with somebody and you get this opportunity to work with them, that it can really challenge you in the right way, and push you to do some things that maybe you wouldn't otherwise. Uh, so I think that's really important, and I'm really happy about it because of it. But the reason I'm mentioning the alchemy versus the magic thing is because with the laboratory alchemy, it seems to be absolutely essential that you do this during the planetary hours. Again, haven't done laboratory alchemy yet, so I'm only speaking on the basis of anecdotal evidence, but anecdotal evidence that's backed up by this person's experience. But with the magical stuff, I mean, that, I've been practicing magic for a long time, so this is really kind of giving me an opportunity to test this in this environment and work with it and see what happens, and then see if there's a significant effect one way or another. And again, just because whatever findings I end up discovering in regards to this, and I'll share them at some point down the line, probably a couple weeks from now or something, not in the next video, but probably a little bit further down the line. Whatever findings I end up discovering as a result of this little experiment, it's not, and it should not be taken as a comment upon laboratory alchemy. Okay, I want to make that very clear, because I'm not speaking to that again, because I have not done that. So, but it'll be a commentary on the magical aspects of it, or the magical aspects of planetary magic in this case, and the planetary hours, and whether there's a significant effect one way or another. And if so, like, how do we then capitalize on that, or plan on that, or utilize it? I think it's a fun little experiment, and it's kind of one of those things where you have to be willing to put yourself out there and try something different. It's so easy, and I say this as someone who has sometimes done this. It is so easy to rest on your laurels, or to get stuck, to blindfold, to you know, tunnel vision yourself about magic. I mean, I do it myself. That may sound surprising to some of you, because you're like, oh, well, Taylor's always experimenting with magic. He's always challenging stuff. Well, I am, but it's so easy to get caught up in your own preconceptions about how something works, or what you know about it, or what your experience is. And this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this, because it's like, okay, I should challenge myself this way. This conversation kind of made me think a bit differently about how I could do something. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to take this on and challenge myself in this way. I'm going to try this out. I'm going to use this phone app as a way to test things and see what happens. Worst case scenario, I end up validating my own ideas about this, or maybe I totally blow them out of the water. I don't know. That's not even a worst case scenario. Is there a worst case scenario in this thing? I don't think there is. I think it's just like, hey, I've learned something new, no matter what. And that's awesome. That's how it should be with our magical work. We should be willing to challenge ourselves. So that's kind of what's going on. And these are some further thoughts I've had on timing. I'll say that, in tracking the planetary hours, sometimes I've felt like, okay, like I've really tapped into and I felt this planetary energy. And other times I've checked and I'm like, I'm not really feeling it. So there's part of me that's like, well, is this significant? Am I reading too much into this? Am I not reading enough into it? Am I, or am I just pushing back against it? I mean, that's a valid question I have to ask myself too. And I think that that's a really good way to examine and explore this, because it explores the preconceptions that I'm bringing to this work. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. And I wanted to share that, kind of give you guys a bit of an update, because I made that video last week and it prompted some really excellent conversation and thoughts. And it's something I've been working on a bit further. And I'll share it with you down the line. Like a couple weeks or a few weeks, I'll share with you what I've found. And I may be experimenting with this beyond even that, because really, again, it's a good idea to give yourselves a good baseline. But we'll see what happens. All right. So thanks for watching. And, if you have any comments or thoughts of your own on this, feel free to drop those in the on the video, or on Facebook if you end up seeing it there. And otherwise, take care of yourselves and have a great weekend.